Episode 28, The Painted Bridge of Lies. The message glowed on Alex's phone screen like a malevolent star, casting pale light across her face in the pre-dawn darkness of her Holborn flat. She'd been staring at it for 3 hours now, unable to sleep, unable to look away. Your mother and Julia Hartwell were best friends. Ask your father what Catherine did to betray her. Ask him why Julia never forgave her. Ask him why Victoria's revenge was only the beginning. Beside her, Marcus stirred, his hand finding hers beneath the duvet. Still awake? I can't stop thinking about it. Alex's voice was hoarse from exhaustion. My mother died when I was 8. I barely remember her. And now someone's telling me she had this whole secret past with Julia Hartwell? Marcus propped himself up on one elbow, his surgeon's eyes studying her face with concern. You tried calling your father again? 5 times, straight to voicemail. Alex's jaw tightened. He's avoiding me, which means he knows something. Her phone buzzed. Not Richard, Sophie. Found something. Come to ours. Now. 20 minutes later, Alex and Marcus stood in Sophie and Natasha's converted warehouse flat in Rotherhithe, watching Sophie's fingers fly across 3 monitors displaying what looked like ancient newspaper archives and genealogy websites. I couldn't sleep either, Sophie said, not looking up from the screens. So I started digging into Julia Hartwell's past, and your mother's. Natasha appeared with coffee, her PR strategist's brain already working the angles. What Sophie found is complicated. Show me, Alex said. Sophie pulled up a scanned newspaper clipping from 1994, 31 years ago. The headline read, Medical Student Cleared in Cheating Scandal. Below it, a grainy photograph showed a young woman with Alex's eyes and cheekbones. Catherine Morrison, age 23. Your mother was accused of stealing another student's research, Sophie said quietly. The accusations were investigated and dismissed. She graduated with honors 6 months later. Alex's stomach twisted. Who accused her? Sophie pulled up another article. Julia Hartwell. They were in the same program at Imperial College, best friends according to this piece from the student newspaper, until the cheating scandal destroyed their friendship. Julia claimed your mother stole her research on pediatric cardiac procedures, Natasha added, reading from her tablet. The university investigation found insufficient evidence. Julia withdrew from the program shortly after, never finished her medical degree. Marcus leaned closer to the screen. Jesus. So Julia Hartwell could have been a doctor? Should have been, Sophie corrected. According to this, she was brilliant, top of her class until the scandal. After she withdrew, she worked as a medical administrator. Never practiced medicine. Alex felt the room tilt. And then her daughter Emily died from medical malpractice. A cardiac procedure that went wrong. The same specialty Julia would have had, Natasha said softly, if she'd finished her training. The pieces clicked together with sickening clarity. Julia Hartwell, robbed of her medical career, forced to watch from the sidelines as her daughter died from the very kind of procedure she should have been qualified to perform. And then, years later, facing Catherine Morrison's daughter across a courtroom, the daughter of the woman who'd destroyed her dreams. Victoria said her mother was never the same after the trial, Alex whispered. But it wasn't just about losing the case. It was about facing me, Catherine's daughter, the final twist of the knife. Her phone rang. Finally, Richard Morrison. Where have you been? Alex demanded. I've been calling you for hours. I know. Her father's voice was rough, aged. I know what you're going to ask, Alexandra, and I don't want to have this conversation over the phone. Come to the house, now. There are things you need to know about your mother. Things I should have told you years ago. The Morrison family home in Hampstead was a Georgian townhouse that had always felt too large, too empty since Catherine's death. Richard waited in his study, looking older than his 58 years, a tumbler of whiskey already half empty on his desk despite the early hour. She didn't steal Julia's research, he said, before Alex could even sit down. But she didn't stop someone else from stealing it either. Alex sank into the leather chair across from him. Marcus stood behind her, one hand on her shoulder. Tell me everything, Alex said. Richard stared into his whiskey. Your mother and Julia were inseparable at Imperial. Brilliant, both of them. Competitive, but in a way that pushed them both to excel. They were going to change pediatric cardiology together. That was the plan. He paused, gathering himself. There was a third student in their research group, Daniel Pemberton. He was struggling, facing expulsion. Your mother felt sorry for him. She and Julia had been working on a groundbreaking protocol for pediatric cardiac surgery. Revolutionary stuff. Catherine showed Daniel their preliminary findings, trying to help him understand the methodology. And he stole it, Alex said. He submitted it as his own work, Richard confirmed. Published it under his name before Catherine and Julia could. When Julia found out, she was devastated. She accused Catherine of deliberately giving their research away. Catherine insisted she'd only been trying to help, that she had no idea Daniel would steal it. The university investigated. They couldn't prove Catherine had knowingly participated in academic theft, so the charges were dropped. But Julia never believed her, never forgave her. "What happened to Daniel Pemberton?" Marcus asked. Richard's expression darkened. "He's Sir Daniel Pemberton now, one of the country's leading cardiac surgeons, built his entire career on that stolen research. Your mother's research." Alex felt sick. Did my mother ever try to reclaim credit? She couldn't prove it was hers. All the original notes were in Julia's handwriting. They'd done most of the preliminary work together, with Julia taking the lead on documentation. Without Julia's testimony, Catherine had no case, and Julia refused to speak to her ever again. "So my mother lost her best friend and the credit for her research," Alex said slowly. "And Julia lost her medical career and her best friend, and Daniel Pemberton got everything." "Your mother never forgave herself," Richard said quietly. "She threw herself into her legal career instead, became one of the most ruthless barristers in London. I always thought she was trying to prove something, that she wasn't weak, that she wouldn't be taken advantage of again." The parallel was devastating. Catherine Morrison, betrayed and hardened, raising her daughter to be equally ruthless. And that daughter, years later, destroying the already broken Julia Hartwell in court, adding one final humiliation to a lifetime of injustice. "Victoria knows all this," Alex said. "It wasn't a question." "I believe so," Richard said. "The messages you've been receiving suggest someone has done extensive research into both families' histories." Alex's phone buzzed. Another message from an unknown number. "Now you understand. Victoria's mother lost everything because of Catherine, and you finished what your mother started. But this isn't about Victoria anymore, Alexandra. This is about justice for Julia, and for all the others your family destroyed. Meet me at the Painted Bridge, tonight at 8. Come alone, or everyone learns the truth about the Morrison legacy." Marcus read the message over her shoulder. "You're not going alone." "I have to know who this is," Alex said. "Who's been orchestrating this?" Richard stood, moving to a locked cabinet. He withdrew a thick manila folder, decades old by the look of it. "Before you go, there's one more thing you need to know. About Julia Hartwell. About why she might have had allies who would want revenge." He opened the folder, revealing newspaper clippings, court documents, and photographs. After Emily's death, Julia became an advocate. She started a foundation for families affected by medical malpractice. She helped dozens of families sue hospitals and doctors. She became quite well known in those circles. Alex's blood ran cold as she looked through the documents. Case after case, where Julia Hartwell had provided testimony, expert consultation, emotional support to families fighting medical malpractice claims. Families who had lost children, parents, spouses to medical negligence, and in many of those cases, the defense barrister was listed, Alexandra Morrison. "Oh my God," Alex whispered. "I didn't just destroy Julia in court. I destroyed her life's work. Every case I won against these families, I was undoing what she'd tried to build." "You were doing your job," Richard said, but his voice lacked conviction. "I was perpetuating what my mother started," Alex said. "Victoria's revenge wasn't just about her mother. It was about all of them. Every family Julia helped. Every case I won." Marcus squeezed her shoulder. "Alex, you can't blame yourself for being a good lawyer." "Can't I?" Alex looked up at him, tears burning her eyes. "My mother's betrayal destroyed Julia's medical career. My legal career destroyed her advocacy work. The Morrison women spent 30 years systematically dismantling Julia Hartwell's life, and I never even knew." Her phone buzzed again. 7 hours until our meeting, Alexandra. I suggest you prepare yourself. The truth is so much worse than you imagine. The Painted Bridge pub in Southwark had been the friend group's regular meeting spot for years. The historic building, with its dark wood paneling and cozy alcoves, had witnessed countless celebrations, commiserations, and drunken confessions. Tonight, it felt like a trap. Alex arrived at 7:45, deliberately early. Marcus was stationed across the street with Detective Okonkwo's surveillance team, watching through traffic cameras and long-range microphones. Sophie and Natasha were monitoring from their flat, tracking any digital communications. Alex ordered a gin and tonic at the bar and claimed their usual corner booth, the one with a view of both the entrance and the back exit. Her phone showed 7:58, then 7:59. At exactly 8 o'clock, a woman walked through the door. She was in her early 50s, elegant in a charcoal suit, with steel gray hair cut in a sharp bob. Her eyes, intelligent, calculating, filled with barely suppressed rage, locked onto Alex immediately. Alex's breath caught. She knew this woman, had seen her in court dozens of times over the years. "Dr. Margaret Hayes," Alex said as the woman slid into the booth across from her. "Medical ethics expert witness. You've testified against my clients in at least 6 malpractice cases." 7, Margaret corrected, her voice cultured and cold. 7 cases where I provided expert testimony about medical negligence. 7 cases where you successfully convinced juries that grieving families were lying, exaggerating, or simply mistaken about the harm done to their loved ones. "You've been behind this entire thing," Alex said. "Victoria, Thomas, Rebecca, Emma, they were all working for you." "Not for me," Margaret said. "With me. Victoria and I found each other 2 years ago, both of us destroyed by your family's legacy. I'd lost my sister to medical malpractice 15 years ago. Julia Hartwell helped me through the lawsuit. We won, barely, but the hospital appealed. You represented them in the appeal. You tore apart my testimony, questioned my credentials, suggested I was emotionally compromised. The judgment was overturned." "I remember that case," Alex said quietly. "Hayes v. St. Mary's Hospital Trust." "My sister was 34, Margaret said. She died because a surgeon was drunk during her operation. We proved it, and then you unpicked every thread of our case until the court decided there was reasonable doubt. The surgeon kept his license, kept practicing, killed 2 more patients before he was finally struck off." Alex felt the weight of those deaths settle on her shoulders. "I was representing my client, following the evidence. You were following your mother's example," Margaret said. "Catherine Morrison taught you well. Win at all costs. Never consider the human consequences. Never look at the faces of the people you destroy." She pulled out a tablet, opened a file, and slid it across to Alex. "This is everyone. Every family Julia Hartwell helped. Every case you won against them. 43 families, Alexandra. 43 lives you touched. And many of them remember." Alex scrolled through the file with trembling hands. Names, faces, case numbers. She remembered some of them. Others were just reference numbers in her case archives. "Victoria was the catalyst," Margaret continued. "But I've been building this network for 5 years. Families who lost loved ones to medical negligence. Families who were then destroyed in court by Morrison and Blackwood. Families who want justice." "What do you want from me?" Alex asked. "I want you to understand what you've done," Margaret said. "I want you to see the faces of the people you've hurt. I want you to carry that weight for the rest of your life, the way Julia Hartwell carried the weight of losing her medical career, the way I carry the weight of losing my sister, the way Victoria carries the weight of losing her entire family." And then you resign," Margaret said simply. "You give up your law license. You walk away from Morrison and Blackwood. You make a public statement acknowledging the harm you've caused. You use your remaining influence to advocate for medical malpractice victims instead of against them. And if I refuse?" Margaret's smile was cold. "Then the network activates. 43 families, Alexandra, each one with a story about how you destroyed them. Each one willing to speak to the press, to the Bar Standards Board, to anyone who will listen. Your reputation will be demolished. Your father's firm will collapse under the weight of the scandal. Every case you've ever won will be scrutinized, appealed, potentially overturned." She leaned forward. "But more than that, I'll make sure everyone knows about Catherine Morrison, about how she betrayed Julia Hartwell, about how the Morrison family has spent 3 decades destroying lives in the medical community. Your mother's legacy will be exposed as a fraud built on stolen research and ruthless ambition. Alex's mind raced. Through the window, she could see Marcus's silhouette across the street. Sophie and Natasha were listening to every word. Detective Okonkwo could arrest Margaret right now for conspiracy, harassment, extortion, but that wouldn't change the truth of what Margaret was saying. It wouldn't erase the 43 families. It wouldn't bring back Julia Hartwell or Margaret's sister or any of the people who died because Alex had been too good at her job. "I need time," Alex said finally, "to think, to process this." "You have 48 hours, Margaret said, "the same deadline Victoria gave you. It seems fitting. Friday at noon, I want your answer. Resign and help us, or face the consequences." She stood, straightening her suit jacket. "One more thing, Alexandra. Your mother knew. At the end, she knew what she'd done. She tried to make amends. She reached out to Julia, tried to apologize. Julia refused to see her. 2 months later, Catherine died. Heart failure, the death certificate said. But I think she died of guilt." Margaret walked out, leaving Alex alone with the weight of 3 decades of Morrison family secrets. Alex's phone buzzed. "Marcus, are you okay? Should we arrest her?" Alex stared at the message, then at the tablet Margaret had left behind, still displaying the list of 43 families. 43 lives touched by her ruthless pursuit of victory. 43 grieving people who saw her as the enemy. She thought about her mother, brilliant and broken, building a legal career on the ashes of her stolen medical research. She thought about Julia Hartwell, equally brilliant and equally broken, watching her best friend's daughter become everything she'd lost. And she thought about Victoria, young and desperate and consumed by grief, finding allies in Margaret Hayes and the network of damaged families. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about accountability, about whether winning justified the human cost, about whether Alex Morrison could look at those 43 faces and still believe she'd done nothing wrong. She typed back to Marcus, "Don't arrest her. I'm coming out. We need to talk." As she stood to leave, Alex caught her reflection in the pub's old mirror. Dark hair, sharp features, her mother's eyes staring back at her. Catherine Morrison's daughter, Julia Hartwell's destroyer, the heir to a legacy built on betrayal and ruthless ambition. The question was, could she be something else? Could she choose a different path? Or was she too much her mother's daughter to ever truly change? 48 hours to decide. 48 hours to choose between the career she'd built and the justice she'd denied to 43 families. 48 hours to decide what kind of lawyer, what kind of person Alexandra Morrison wanted to be. Outside the painted bridge, Marcus pulled her into his arms. "What are you going to do?" Alex looked up at him, this man who'd stood by her through conspiracy after conspiracy, who'd believed in her even when she couldn't believe in herself. "I don't know," she admitted, "but I think Margaret Hayes might be right, about all of it." Her phone buzzed one final time, an email from an address she didn't recognize, with a subject line that made her blood run cold. "The Morrison Legacy, a comprehensive history of professional betrayal." The email contained a single line, "This goes public in 48 hours unless you do the right thing. The choice is yours, Alexandra. Choose wisely." Attached were hundreds of pages of documents, case files, testimonies, medical records, photographs of grieving families, transcripts of Alex's most brutal cross-examinations. Everything Margaret needed to destroy not just Alex's career, but the entire Morrison family reputation. Alex closed her eyes, feeling the weight of 30 years of family secrets pressing down on her shoulders. Her mother's betrayal. Her own ruthless victories. 43 families waiting for justice. She had 48 hours to decide whether to sacrifice everything she'd built to make amends for sins she'd never known she was committing. And somewhere in London, Margaret Hayes and her network of damaged families were waiting to see if Alexandra Morrison had more integrity than her mother. The countdown had begun.
Thanks for watching our stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more epic adventures. Thanks for watching our stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more epic adventures.